the greatest of the Emperor's sons, the Warmaster himself. Horus was destined to unite the galaxy in his father's name. Instead, he damned it. This is the story of how chaos broke the mightiest Primarch and turned him into the arch-traitor. Horus Lupercal was no ordinary Primarch. When the Emperor scattered his gene sons across the galaxy, Horus was the first to be rediscovered. Unlike so many of his brothers, who grew up in hostile worlds or under tyrants, Horus was found as a child and raised directly by the Emperor himself. This bond made Horus unique. He was not just a warrior or a leader, he was family. For decades he fought by the Emperor's side in the Great Crusade, learning not just war, but statecraft, diplomacy, and vision. It is said the Emperor loved all his sons equally. But among the legions, it was whispered, Horus was the favored one. When the Emperor declared the Great Crusade complete enough to return to Terra, he left behind a successor to command the armies of humanity. Not Guilliman, the bureaucrat. Not Dawn, the stoic defender. Not even Sanguinius, the angel beloved by all. He chose Horus, the Warmaster. At first, Horus bore this title with honor. He was a brilliant commander, charismatic enough to unite the rivalries of the Primarchs. He inspired the legions, and his triumphs made the name of Horus legendary. But leadership is a burden heavier than any warhammer. Some of his brothers began to whisper that Horus had been given too much, too soon, that the Emperor's trust had blinded him, that Horus was more mortal than divine. And in the quiet moments, Horus himself began to doubt. He felt the crushing weight of responsibility and the distance growing between himself and the father he adored. The turning point came during a campaign on Davin. There, Horus fought against corrupted warriors, the bodyguard of a former ally, infected by a chaos weapon. In the thick of battle, Horus was struck by a cursed blade. The wound festered with warp-spawned corruption, and the greatest of the Primarchs fell gravely ill. For days, he lingered between life and death. His legion was desperate. His sons begged for help. And in that desperation, the Serpent Lodge, a cabal of Davinite cultists devoted to chaos, offered a cure. The sons of Horus accepted. Horus was taken to their ritual chamber, his body laid upon a slab of stone, his soul slipping into the Imperium. What Horus saw there would shape the fate of the galaxy. He did not see demons with fangs and claws. He saw visions, a future where the Emperor betrayed his sons, a future where the Primarchs were cast aside, their legions reduced to tools, their lives forgotten, a future where the Emperor crowned himself a god, demanding worship and leaving no place for the warriors who had won him his throne. The Chaos Gods are liars, but they are masterful liars. They showed Horus enough truth to poison his soul. He had seen how the Emperor kept secrets, like the Webway project, hidden even from his sons. He had seen how humanity was taught to worship the Emperor, though the Emperor denied it in words. And in his pride, Horus believed that betrayal was inevitable. Chaos whispered, "Better to rule in the warp than serve on Terra." And Horus, the beloved son, accepted. When Horus awoke, he was not the same. At first, he kept his corruption hidden, but in subtle ways, he began to test his brothers, to sow doubt, to spread whispers of the Emperor's betrayal. The first to fall was Fulgrim, seduced by the promises of perfection and excess. Then Angron, whose rage had always been too great to contain. Then Mortarion, whose hatred of tyranny was twisted into worship of Nurgle. One by one, Horus turned brother against brother, until half the legions had pledged their loyalty to him. What began as a wound on Davin became a wound across the Imperium. With his corrupted legions at his side, Horus declared war. Not just against the Emperor, but against all that the Imperium stood for. The galaxy burned. The Word-bearers unleashed demonic cults across Imperial worlds. The World-eaters carved bloody paths of destruction. The Night Lords spread terror like wildfire. The sons of Horus, once the proud lunar wolves, became the spearhead of treachery. And at the heart of it all was the Warmaster, no longer the Emperor's son, but the champion of chaos. At last, Horus brought his war to Terra. The siege of the Imperial Palace was the bloodiest battle in human history. The sky itself split as titans clashed. The walls of the Emperor's palace shook under relentless bombardment. The Loyalists, Dawn, Sanguinius, the Blood Angels, the Imperial Fists, fought to the last breath. And at the pinnacle of the battle, Horus lowered the shields of his flagship. He invited the Emperor himself to face him. What happened next was legend. The Emperor boarded Horus's ship, the Vengeful Spirit. He cut through hordes of traitors until he reached the Warmaster. Father and son stood face to face. The Emperor begged Horus to turn back, but Horus had gone too far. His soul belonged to chaos. Their duel was apocalyptic. The Emperor's psychic might clashed with Horus's demonic power. Reality itself shook under their blows. At last, the Emperor struck Horus down. He did so not with pride, nor anger, but with sorrow. He had killed his most beloved son. But the victory came at a terrible price. The Emperor himself was mortally wounded. He was entombed upon the Golden Throne, his dream of a united Imperium shattered forever. Horus was dead, but his betrayal echoes through the millennia. The legions he corrupted became the traitor legions, the Black Legion, the World-eaters, the Death Guard, the Emperor's children, and more. They plague the galaxy to this day, carrying the torch of their Warmaster's rebellion. The Imperium survived, but it was forever scarred. What was once a dream of progress became a nightmare of stagnation. And in the shadows of the warp, the Chaos Gods still laugh, because in the end, they had proven a truth. Even the greatest of the Emperor's sons could fall. This was the story of the fall of Horus, how chaos broke the Warmaster. But Horus was only the first. The sons who followed him, Angron, Fulgrim, Mortarion, Lorgar, each fell in their own way. And the mystery of the two lost Primarchs still haunts the Imperium. What if one of them too had been claimed by chaos? Subscribe to Primarch 11. The Warp always has more secrets to share.